that puts to sea, and the name of the chip was privacy. Going through hard and fear, dip down below me, crypto boy flow. Soon may the pirate chain come to bring us crypto golden rum. One day when the system is done, we'll take our treasure and go. She'd not been but 2 years from shore when her value it began to soar. The captain called all hands and swore he'd take those bankers in tow. Soon may the pirate chain come to bring us crypto golden rum. One day when the system is done, we'll take our treasure and go. Before the boat had hit the water, bankers came but never caught her. All in sync we hidden for them, then they began to know. Soon may the pirate chain come to bring us crypto golden rum. One day when the system is done, we'll take our treasure and go. No chain was cut, no block was freed, and the captain's mind was not on greed, but he belonged to the pirate's creed and took those bankers in tow. Soon may the pirate chain come to bring us crypto golden rum. One day when the system is done, we'll take our treasure and go. For fiat days to be no more, the crypto sank, then rose once more. Coins were lost, yet we do endure, and still that system did go. Soon may the pirate chain come to bring us crypto golden rum. One day when the system is done, we'll take our treasure and go. As far as I've heard, the fuss still on, the chain's not cut and the block's not gone. We pirates make our regular call, we're with the captain through and dawn.
Mamma mia, another remix of that song. Holy macaroni. What is that, number 40? We got so many remixes of that song, it's insane. That's from the remix contest.
Hey, Lutz, can you, invite SmartFi, up to the speaker?
Shoes. Let me see if I can find them here. Where are you, Mr. SmartFi? Raise your hand. I see him. He's got a regular. You gotta get yourself a picture, man. Invite, move to voice. And how it works? I never actually brought somebody on stage to see if that works. No, I moved them to voice. Wherever the hell he went, I don't know. He's back. Maybe I could just drag and drop it. That would be too easy, right? That would be too easy, of course. SmartFi, can you raise your hand? Hit the little hand button at the bottom. I think we got to use the request system. Right click, small rolls, move, invite. Invite to speak. There we go. Boom. Gotcha. At the top, you'll see a little green bar. Just hit the accept button, and you get it.
There we go.
All right. Welcome, Aaron.
Thank you.
Hey, so this is our weekly meeting, Aaron. Welcome. Aaron's been hanging out with Polly for the last 3 years, I think. Right, Polly?
Yeah.
And they've been working on something special. Now, you guys know I'm not a regulatory type of guy. I don't like any legalese talk. As soon as I hear it, I say I don't understand it. I don't want to understand it. Right? That's not my language. I talk Italian and I talk Brooklynese. Those are the only two languages I talk. So but when it comes to this type of stuff, Polly is banking and finance and all that stuff. That there is people in the community that like that kind of stuff. So we got to make everybody happy, I guess. And Aaron's here to make everybody happy. He's got this really cool system. This cool project. It's called SmartFi. I've been seeing a lot of advertisements, so you guys have been using AdSense, I see. And SFUSD is going to be a stable coin coming out of the Komodo project. I've been seeing a lot of stable coins lately. None coming out of the Komodo project. There's a few features here we're going to talk about: Smart Dex, Smart Portal, Smart Cycle, and I got some questions ready for him. So that we worked on last night. So why don't you tell us about yourself, Aaron? How'd you get involved in crypto? Were you always a bankster?
Well, no, actually, my background is about 20 years ago. I worked for a internet service provider, an ISP.
Me too.
Well, gosh, probably more than that. It was in the late 90s. And then the early 2000s, I worked for a hardware software company where we built ASIC boards for interactive voice response. And these are basically used to, let's say you call up your local pharmacy and say, hey, I need a prescription, and it talks to you and goes through this process. That's the kind of systems that we made. I worked for that company for 6 or 7 years. And then also did a couple other things in technology, where I worked for an investment bank, boutique investment bank, where we developed an online pharmacy, and then also developed energy infrastructure. And probably the thing that we're most well known for over the last 15 years is developing a new nuclear power plant. And then we also owned oil and gas pipeline construction business, where we built pipelines for big, large-scale oil and gas producers. And then also I spent 5 years in the Utah State House of Representatives. I was elected twice to the House. So got kind of a broad spectrum of technology, energy, and then policy.
All right, and so you were elected, huh? So that means that people actually voted you in office?
Yeah, as amazing as that sounds, yes.
Wow. I've never even heard anybody come on that show and say that they're so what's it like just being part of the gang over there? Like, you know the way they say, it's a big club and we're not in it. Tell me about the club.
One of the funniest things about all of that is that I'm probably was not a very good politician. And eventually what happens is, if you break a branch off of everybody's family tree, they tend to not want to elect you anymore. And I always use that as the metric or the measuring stick, that if I was doing it right, everybody should be upset at me, right, for one reason or another. Because most of the time when you're there, people are trying to get something from you. They want you to appropriate money. They want you, to take something from somebody else and give it to them, or, these different things. And during my time in the state legislature, I was absolutely one of the most conservative / libertarian elected officials there. And I lost my last election because I supported tuition tax credits and made a law essentially that made it illegal for state government, local governments to take people's property / recreational purpose. And so,
how dare you? How dare you try to take money out of their pocket, bro?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and really what was going on is that there was a developer. He owned all this land. It was his property. And the city did not want him to build homes there and develop that and use his property. So they tried to condemn a 10-foot wide, 2,000-foot long trail right through the best usable parts of his property and use eminent domain to condemn it. And long story short, the federal government, there was a lawsuit, a bunch of other things that went on, and he won. But he came to me and said, hey, you need to make this illegal. The government shouldn't be able to torture people and enact tyranny by taking my property or anybody else's property for a recreational purpose. That is not the appropriate use of eminent domain. Eminent domain is supposed to be if you need a road or you need some critical infrastructure this society can't do without, not recreation. So
right, or if they find oil in my backyard, they'll use it.
Yep. So I stayed there for 5 years, which was probably about as long as I would last because I didn't really spend a lot of time kind of playing the game that they looked at. In fact, I went there because I felt like our taxes were too high.
Right. And this game he speaks of, guys, it's the same game you play in corporate America. It's the kiss ass game. Right? You gotta kiss your boss's ass and try to get everybody to like you by kissing their ass, and that's never a good situation for product or the business. You end up with a lot of lazy workers. What was that?
I was going to say, you can't please everyone all the time, right? And yeah, the politics is a game of trying to as close as possible.
Yeah, well, politicking, it's got a different meaning for everybody, right? Like right now, I'm politicking with you. That's fine, right? That's my version of politics. If all this, what their version of politics is just fucking lying to everybody.
Patience.
And threatening and making them and scaring them and fearing them into doing things.
There's always these tricks.
Which I'm very angry at recently, with the whole jab thing he's going on. It's not the same type of politics. It's more like hunger politics, like the Hunger Games. All these politicians, they're so hungry to get something from somebody else. And they make it happen, right? Sugar companies, it's all fraudulent. It's all fake. I don't believe in it. I don't like it. But, a lot of people, they follow the system. They go about their day. They like using the banks. That's fine. That's your prerogative. But one day it may not be so, right? There may not be a bank for you to go to, and your money may not be there anymore. So how do you differ? So how does your business, SmartFi, and this is SmartFi, and everybody on Float, thank you for joining us. Float is awesome, guys. Go on Float. Stop using Twitter. How is it different from a regular bank? What SmartFi do different? There may not be a bank than a regular bank. To, and your money just so we can get like a comparison.
Yeah, so really quick, I just want to kind of finish off on the politics side really quick.
Sure.
In Utah, we actually have a really good structure for the most part in terms of, the legislature and Utah is a very conservative state. For the most part, there are other places obviously within the state that are kind of liberal enclaves where they believe in big government. But for the most part, the state is actually pretty good, and there are quite a few good politicians that make it into office. For example, Senator Dan Hemmert, who spoke at our conference 2 years ago, our crypto conference, he passed legislation that exempted blockchain tokens as being categorized as quote unquote money, so that they could be utilized ubiquitously around the state. And the state does some innovative things that way, which were very helpful to us as a company and to the token holders in the state of Utah. So it's not all bad, but there is, you've got to be very careful about who's helping you and when they're going to help you and basically structure your association with the people who are being elected for the right reason. So I just want to put that out there. It's not all bad, but in
what state? What state is that?
That's Utah.
Utah. Oh, yeah, I got the Goldbacks. Utah's a good state.
Yeah, I mean, Utah has a history of fighting the federal government over their federal overreach all the time, right? I mean, they're very suspicious of the federal government and are very interested in keeping their autonomy as a state.
They try. I would say they try the hardest. New Hampshire, South Dakota, Utah, and Nevada are the four most free states at the moment.
Yeah. Okay. So you asked me a question about SmartFi, kind of what the difference was.
Oh, yeah. So am I right to be relating you to a bank?
No, because we're not a bank, right?
Okay.
And we are a non-bank lending institution, basically. And, kind of going back several years ago when we met Polly. Polly has probably been now going on over 3 years, I think. But I'll give you an introduction that will give you an idea of why we're different and what the comparison might be, right?
Okay.
One of which is that when we first started lending money to cryptocurrency miners around the world, our background obviously is in energy and energy infrastructure. And we started getting several calls from people, in 2017, different large-scale miners and small-scale miners looking for electricity, and they knew that we did something in electricity. So we started helping them find locations to build out mining facilities. And my background in technology obviously helped me kind of put one and two together with ASIC mining and FPGAs and electricity consumption to mine cryptocurrencies. It didn't take me very long to figure that part of it out. But when the market cratered in January of 2018, all the people that we were dealing with, all of a sudden they didn't have the net worth that they used to when Bitcoin went from, and all cryptocurrencies went from, some very high dramatic price down to, 1/10 of what it was, the previous month. And so when we started talking to the potential customers, they said, no, we don't have the money. We got to slow down. And I said, well, why don't you just create a forward price curve or a forward contract on your output or give us the crypto that you currently possess and we'll give you dollars. That way you can hold your basis in your crypto, again, get the dollars that you need, because arguably the best time to mine is when the price is extremely low because nobody else will be mining it or very few will be mining it. There'll be less competition. And that was kind of a new concept for them to think that mining cryptocurrencies when the price was low is the best time to mine it. And it is the same thing with the oil and gas business and other businesses where you can create a forward price curve. And frankly, it demonstrated to us that the current, at the time, the current slate of miners who are involved in cryptocurrency mining were actually not very sophisticated in financial markets. They didn't know how to do that. When we talked to them about that, they just kind of looked at us with the deer in the headlights look.
Yeah, like I do. I still do it. What the frick is this guy talking about?
Yeah. And really, so we looked at that and said, well, we know how to do this. Let's just provide the service for them. All they got to do is know that they can put up their crypto to us. We'll give them 70 cents on the dollar for it, or some margin, and they'll get their dollars. They can survive. They can pay their bills. They can do other things. And then as their crypto becomes more and more valuable over time, they can pay off their debt. And they effectively can now get a massive return because they held their Bitcoin when it was at 3,000, didn't sell it, and it went to 30,000. So we had a lot of customers that were doing that with us, and a lot of them went from being worth a little bit in crypto to a lot over the last year, right? Maybe they had, $500,000. Well, by the time they saved it and everything went on, they were worth, 15 million. So they learned how to create wealth with derivatives and with a structure that normally banks use or institutional traders use And we showed them how to kind of take that sophistication, make it a little simpler, but apply to their process, their business, and their market. So that's how we started in the lending business with cryptocurrencies.
Got you. So were you lending to miners so that they could build operations?
Yeah. And we lent to private jet companies who are building tokens on private jet hours, crypto ATMs, real estate. I mean, anybody that had crypto, we would lend to.
Nice. Okay. If it weren't for people like you guys, I would say, you guys are the ones that help, the adoption of Bitcoin further itself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or for people doing that.
Yeah, that was the point. But it was during that lending process we recognized that there were still, as good as cryptocurrencies are and were at the time, there were some flaws in that process. And the source code for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and a lot of the other versions of Bitcoin, and they have some flaws in them that keep them from being a complete market. And I'll just give you an example. All cryptocurrencies are one-sided markets. They only have one tool, which is speculation, right? And that requires you to be long always, right? And that's a problem because it doesn't allow you to get to safety or a hedge when you need it. Like when the price goes down and you got to put it up, to us, we'll give you the dollars that way, and we get you some safety. But you still have to make margin call and do all these other things that still represent significant amount of risk in your position. So going through this process over a couple of years, we started developing our system, our ecosystem that starts with safety first and speculation second. So you can start off with a hedge like you would anytime if you were to go to some institution like a bank or somewhere else and you give them your quote-unquote dollars, hopefully you expect to get your money back exactly what you put on, in the deposit. And that doesn't exist anywhere in crypto in terms of a process for safety. So we started working with Komodo in building out structures in our technology design, in our financial models. We brought all the financial modeling and all the structures behind that, and then started working with Komodo and the developers at Komodo to build out an ecosystem that could provide this safety that really is missing in the cryptocurrency markets.
Okay, so as a normal person, what I could do is I could save my money in your non-bank, right? And then not have to worry about losing too much money because when I pull it out, it should be the same.
Yeah, let me.
Something like that. So I'm very bank. I've blocked my whole mind to all this financial stuff a long time ago. I don't even want to know about it really. So this is really not my realm. It's really more Polly's realm. My investment goes as far as crypto and big bars of silver. And that's as far as I invest in.
Well, there's a lot of benefits to what SmartFi is doing. So what Aaron described with crypto collateralized loans, you guys might be aware, like every time you trade a crypto, that's a taxable event. Every time you cash out, that's a taxable event. But if you collateralize your crypto and, take the dollars out, that's, not a taxable event because you still technically own that collateral as long as you pay back your loan. So there's, practical benefits, for all.
Yeah. And so the real structure behind that is that the safety that Polly's talking about, one's the tax benefit. Two is a hedge, which means you always have safety in a certain aspect of your assets. But then we also structured the ability to speculate on our token, just like a normal cryptocurrency would have. It has a safety component to it. So when you buy our token, from our smart cycle, it has a buyback guarantee. So no matter what price you buy it at, you can come back to us at the end of a year, and if you don't like the price for whatever reason, we'll give you back exactly the dollar-denominated amount that you bought it for. It's a hedge. It's safety.
Gotcha. Yep.
But we expect that in that amount of time, the value goes up because it's indexed to our loan portfolio. So the more loans that we make, the higher the value of the token, and then you get to decide, do I want my money back or do I want the speculative value of the token?
Gotcha. Now, what could be these loans you give out be used for? Can I buy a house? Can I buy what kind of how large does it go?
Well, we've done up to in single loans to single entities close to $100 million. So you can, depending on what kind of a user you are. We have other people that make real estate investments. They do, like I mentioned, just about anything that you can think of. For the most part, it's all commercial related. What you do with it is up to you. But for the most part, we're lending to businesses because they have to pay the interest on it or other things. But I mean, if you have crypto, you can borrow and get dollars and invest in essentially anything you want, or you can reinvest in something because that's a commercial purpose. You can kind of do whatever you want. We don't necessarily care what you're doing with it. As long as you have crypto to post up as collateral, you can get a loan.
Cool. So you got two coins, right? You have SFUSD, SmartFi USD, and you have SmartFi token, right? The SmartFi token is issued in increments of 100,000 based on loan demand.
Yeah.
The SFUSD is a stable coin, and it's backed 1-to-1 with USD, which is what stable coins do. Can be traded for USD after 1 year, which is what you were just explaining to us. So you have two coins.
Actually, the stable coin you can redeem at any time. If you bought the stable coin, you can redeem it any time for the dollar-denominated amount. There's no limitation to that.
Gotcha. Now this SmartFi token, is this out right now? And what's the supply look like?
Yeah, actually, it goes live tomorrow on our Smart Cycle platform, on our CFI platform. So the initial supply is always, in fact, the total supply is always tied to the notional amount of loans. So it always stays in balance to our loan portfolio, right? So when you're buying the token, it's always at an index price to whatever the forecasted loan amount is. That's how we basically create this safety or this hedge. It's not just based on some speculative thing where you just say, look, we got, a billion tokens and we're going to sell them all at once. We don't do that. We only sell the tokens as the demand for the loans increases, and that creates an index or a basis so that there's always an underpinning and a utility for the token.
Gotcha. Now these tokens, there's a code base behind them. Who created the code base, and is it open source?
Yeah, all of our friends over at the Komodo development community.
Yeah. So I'll just explain. The SMTF, so the speculative token, is a BEP20 token. Eventually, it will migrate over to the SmartFi's own BSC clone. The stable coin, the SFUSD, is a coin that's based off of a Namecoin fork that we imported the Komodo crypto conditions onto it and are using other techs with it, like delayed proof of work for security.
Oh, nice. Will you be utilizing their domain, the domain naming system that they had back in the day?
I mean, it's currently not being used, but it could be. So yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, that's that used to be one of my favorites. Them, and there was only two coins that were doing domain names on blockchain. That's an interesting chain to take it from. Wow. The
big reason that we're using the Namecoin fork is because we utilize merge mining in our process. right? One of the biggest values or the ethos behind what we're doing is we believe that there should be no transaction fees for using a cryptocurrency. Right? And so we implemented what's called the commodity layer protocol, and we can go, people can go read more about that on the white paper. Effectively, that allows us to, instead of charging a fee for a transaction, we utilize the interest or some of the interest in the loans to pay for the network. So the transactions actually don't cost anything on the network. Now, there is a security fee, but we rebate that back to everybody at the end of the month when they're using it because of this structure and what we believe in, and that there shouldn't be any transaction fees with cryptocurrency. It's a huge flaw that we saw in the source code of the other blockchains in that they took probably the worst feature of the banking payment system and implemented it in cryptocurrencies. And they basically just instituted a new tyranny in the system that they were already trying to supplant. They used the old tools of the old system.
Now, when you start talking about those type of variables, you're talking also about speed. How fast is your chain since there's no transaction fees?
Yeah, so the chain doesn't work on a structure of, again, fees, because the compensation is already there, right? So right now we're between, if I remember correctly, it's like 100 to 150 transactions per second. But if we start to bump up to that limit, we can implement another side chain based on the technology that we're using with Komodo and continually scale that out over time, so we can continually scale out and grow. I wouldn't say infinitely, but we can get, there shouldn't be any limitations on transaction fees and the speed of the network, because we can continually do additional side chains.
And I would just like to point out with the transaction fees. So, I mean, there is an initial transaction fee, like we said, for our security mechanism to prevent spamming attacks on the blockchain. But you get even if that cost is up, then you still get it back. It doesn't really affect it, and due to Komodo's DPAL, like Aaron said, we can spam.
I might like non-banks better than banks. So we got to give it another name, man. Crypto non-banks, CNBs, right? This is the new acronym, guys. CNBs, crypto non-banks. And
well, that's partially why we just called it SmartFi. There's so many other things that you do with this thing more than just a bank, right? It's better than a bank. It's not limited by what banks do. It's smart finance.
Gotcha. Now, looking through the white paper, early on in the white paper, it says the total supply of SFUSD, the stablecoin, is 90 billion. But later in the white paper, it seems like the supply will be based on demand. Could you clarify, the dynamics of SFUSD again one more time? I know you did a little earlier.
Yeah, for SFUSD, which is a stablecoin, there's effectively no limit to what you can do as long as you have the dollars in the bank to redeem, or at the redemption to redeem one for one the ratio. It's just a technical basis at 90 billion. You start to kind of hit the upper limits of a chain, and we'll issue more if we need to. All right, so at 90 billion, we thought, hey, that's probably enough to start off with right now.
That's a lot, man.
Yeah. We make 90 billion, then that'll be a good problem to have.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Aaron mentioned, it was basically, we just selected the largest pre-mine that we could, right? Because the real value of the SFUSD, is its backing in a bank or through crypto collateral. So
right, like an umbrella type of thing.
Yeah, so it's just an arbitrary number, the 90 billion. But so the real matters is.
I think people are thinking to themselves, who holds the rest of those coins right now? Where are they being located? Who's holding them?
It's in the SmartFi treasury.
What was that?
It's in the SmartFi treasury.
Gotcha. And I'm guessing it's going to be used as some type of balloon where if, you need more, it's there, right? So
Right.
SmartFi originated from a company called Power Block Coin that was lending to miners throughout the bear market of 2018. Could you talk about the lessons you learned through the bear market?
And one of which I'd mentioned earlier that the bear markets are actually the best time to mine because there's less competition, right? Other people can't afford to do it.
Yep.
And so that's when we started lending them money based on their cryptocurrencies. And it was that need for safety that led to the innovation around the commodity layer protocol. When we asked our customers, we said, hey, would you rather mine for a 15 or 20% guaranteed profit, or do you want to continue to mine for the speculative price that you get out of crypto, which actually doesn't pay your bills at the time? It's not enough to actually survive. Clearly, they said, hey, we'd rather start off with the safety and then take the 20% and buy or reinvest in other speculative things so that they could control it. And that's where we came up with the structure of SmartFi, the commodity layer protocol, and then utilizing the interest in our loans to pay for the block rewards, and also structured the other side of the transaction where, in our case, when everything goes live with our DEX version of the smart loans, anyone can be a liquidity provider or become basically, essentially their own personal bank and lend to the network or borrow from the network through the DEX. And right now, all of that takes place on the CFI portal. So when you buy the SMTF token, you're actually lending to people who are borrowing. That's the big difference between our token and everybody else's token, and why we can provide this safety first and index it the value to the loan portfolio. You essentially become a decentralized bank. You also get to vote on monetary policy, where you can say, hey, we think we should increase the interest rates because we have enough loans. Or let's say a bunch of loans get paid off, and now we're sitting on all these dollars. We can lower the interest rate like a central bank and then make more loans to bring the price back up and support it. So we have cryptocurrency monetary policy.
Right. It sounds like you're creating a whole ecosystem. And if voting ever becomes popular again, you have a system for that too. Me personally, I'm done with voting. I never vote. My non-vote is my vote. I don't like my options.
Well, if you're holding on to the SMTF coin, by voting, you help support the price. I like that kind of voting.
Financial interest,
So tell me about the Smart Cycle. It's a centralized open lending platform. You can talk about the advantages of this as well as disadvantages, but more importantly, can you tell me why or if it could be shut down or frozen?
So Smart Cycle is essentially our version of the token cell. It's very different, though, than kind of the typical token cell like we had discussed before, where, maybe a group that's issuing a token, they try to sell, 1 billion tokens all at once, so they're selling them for 5 cents or 10 cents or whatever, and then they try to pump the price to get it to go up based on utility of whatever it is that their network does, or they're going to try to, build their software after they've raised, 15 or $20 million or whatever they're doing. Our Smart Cycle is very different than that. In fact, we don't actually need anybody's money to build any software. We've already done over $1 billion in loans and transactions over the last 30 months, as we've talked about before. So we used all of our own capital to build out the networks to build out the CFI platform, build the DEX, build our blockchains, all of those things. So when you're buying our token in the smart cycle, we're not blowing your money on building software that may never work, right? We're already paying for all of that stuff. What this smart cycle does is when you buy the token, the proceeds go to fund the loans. And in this index, that starts off at 70 cents. There's the first 8 million tokens at 70 cents, then the next 7 million at $1.29, and so on and so on and so on. It is an already predetermined forward price curve that allows you to see that when, let's say, the loan portfolio is at $1 billion, right? And that's realistic. We've done those kind of numbers already before in our Power Block entity before. So when you do $1 billion, the loan, or the token is worth about $106. And that all happens because of the forward price index, just like if you had oil and gas or electricity or other commodities that are traded, they have a forward price curve based on amount, the market, and the structure behind the use of that commodity. And money is a commodity like other things, right? It's a service. So is lending. So when we index it, it gives a specific forward price curve, or you get what's called price discovery. You can tell what it's going to be worth in the future. Unlike other cryptocurrencies, because they're built off total speculation, they don't have an index, they don't have any metrics that give them an understandable value. I know there are other theories and other people, put forth a lot of other theories about the price of cryptocurrency, but none of them have held true. It's all speculation. There's no such thing as a hedge for cryptocurrency.
Well, there's methods of hedging, but yeah, there's no direct hedge, I guess.
A hedge, this is super important, and here's your little financial lesson. Hedges have exact correlation, which means if one side goes up, the other side goes down, exact proportion to the other side of the movement. That's a hedge. There is no such thing for cryptocurrency. There is no exact correlation. That's why there's no hedge. You can produce safety mechanisms like margin call and other types of structures and financial arrangements, but they're not hedges.
Okay. I didn't know that. See, so I always just thought hedging was, just saving my ass on the way down. That's all.
Well,
I'm a very simple-minded person, bro. I try not to make my life complicated.
If you form an exact correlated hedge, you can, but there is no such thing as an exact correlated hedge on chain. That's the difference, right? What you're talking about is you're just giving your risk to somebody else on the other side.
Right, and mitigating it just somewhat, so it's not technically a hedge. Gotcha.
You're only mitigating it to the point that whoever has your other side of the trade, as long as they're a worthy counterparty, they're a credit-worthy counterparty, you have a hedge. But most people don't like to lose money all the time. Pretty soon they go away.
Right.
So when we talk about hedges, we talk about on-chain or process hedges that have exact correlation with security.
Cool. Now, are any of these coins mineable for our miners out there? And can they spin up a full node themselves?
Yeah. Yes, actually, and going forward in the next couple of months, you'll start to see a lot of the testnet and the structure. The network is actually running already for SFUSD, and we will start mining that as we start loading more loans onto the network into the decentralized process. Right now, everything we do is on the centralized portal, but as we go forward in the decentralized market on our smart DEX, then you can start to mine that.
Gotcha. You talked about the CLP. It's supposed to provide the exact cost of producing a block. This is because the miners known as treasurers report their hash rate costs. But couldn't this be hacked somehow? Couldn't a miner just lie about their hash rate costs?
Sure, and in fact, when we say they report their cost, it doesn't mean that they're reporting exactly what they pay. It means they're reporting what they will accept in an auction, right? And because it's an auction, getting the block reward relies on the miners reporting the most efficient hash rate. And this is one of the reasons why we use the name Coin Fork, because it implemented merge mining. So when you're mining our network, you'll also be able to mine the Bitcoin network or the Litecoin, any SHA-256 network as well. So you can make money mining the Bitcoin network and our network at the same time. So there is no need for the miner to say, hey, here's exactly my cost. What they're doing is saying, here's the cost that I will accept for the hash rate that I point to your network. And then we pay them, depending on if the block times are sufficient or insufficient, we pay them between 15 to 20% over their reported cost.
Gotcha. Who are your main competitors in this industry? Are you the only people doing this?
Well, we're the only guys doing it kind of the way that we do it and what we're doing with our structure and our DEX, with our blockchain structure. There are others who have similar type of products, like lending products. You've got others with the CFI platform like BlockFi or Nexo or Celsius. You also have Compound that's doing it on a decentralized basis, or Aave or others who are doing, more like doing that on the Ethereum network with their dApp. But our structure and the way that we create what we're doing in our own ecosystem with our own native protocol coins, that will be able to mine a stable coin. We're the only people doing that for sure. And we're the only ones that give the 100% buyback guarantee on our token.
Oh, nice. And you can start buying it tomorrow from what you said earlier. And it's a mineable stable coin. I'm not even sure if I've ever heard of that before. That might be something new. Is that new?
Absolutely is.
Yeah, I never heard of that before.
Yep. Again, it's kind of that same process that we looked at and said, look, if you're a miner, you want to get an exactly correlated reward in safety. And once you have the dollar-denominated stablecoin, now you can buy any token you want. So it doesn't really matter what you're mining with us. You can either buy our token, buy Bitcoin, buy Ethereum. You could buy whatever you want to mine, or whatever aspect you want exposure to. But you mine the stablecoin because it's always a percentage of the interest that we charge on the loans. So you're getting paid in dollars. We can also create that same stablecoin structure with just about any fiat currency. So if you wanted to, and you lived in the UK or the EU, you could spin up your hash rate and report your cost in a new mining pool that was euro denominated, and you would be mining euros. Or you could mine Japanese yen, or you could mine the pound, or any of those things, any of those fiat currencies. And
you guys are on DEX in your own wallet, from I understand, right? And I had another couple of questions here for you. I'm not sure if you answered them, but I'm going to ask them anyway. When the demand for loans increases, the supply of SMTF increases. What happens if the demand for loans falls? Does the SMTF supply shrink?
No, because it's always issued in that index. So you have to think of SMTF has a primary market, which is the smart cycle, and it is indexed to that forward price curve. Similar to like, if you were producing oil and gas or gold or some other commodity, like gold essentially doesn't shrink, its supply doesn't shrink, right. But it has a typical rate of extraction, right?
Right.
And because ours has an index structured to the loans, as long as the loans are continuing to go and we're issuing SMTF and people are buying that, they'll continue to expand with GDP, which is one of the advantages. I know that a lot of people are down on fiat currencies, but there are some advantages, of which is you can expand GDP. Gold you cannot, or other commodities you cannot, because they're not on demand producible, right? there's a rate at which they're produced based on supply and other constraints. But if the supply of loans goes down, what that really means is we now are sitting on a big giant pile of cash, and we can lower the interest rate to now increase the loans because people will then come get the dollars because they'll be cheaper. We have cryptocurrency monetary policy like a central bank. It's more than just a bank-like structure. It's like a decentralized Federal Reserve.
Gotcha. You also, you guys use delayed proof of work like Pirate Chain. Are you guys using Litecoin for notarization as well?
We are. That's exactly what we're doing.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, I had some other questions, but I'm pretty sure you answered most of them as you were talking. So the smart decks, I think did we cover the smart decks? No. You want to tell us about your smart decks and smart portal and the differences between the two?
Yeah, the smart portal is our CFI platform, right? The centralized finance platform where you can borrow, lend, do all the normal things that we do. And the smart decks, by the way, we also have an exchange on the smart portal, centralized exchange. And since we know that there are people who do not want a KYC and that they would rather, they're probably more experienced users and they would rather have a decentralized experience for a variety of reasons, we had UTXO build us what's called the Smart Dex, which is a version of the Atomic Dex, but we are forking with different features with our borrowing, lending structures, and all of the things that we're talking about doing. And it's all based on a decentralized platform. And it utilizes the Komodo technology for part of it and utilizes other technologies that we're implementing as we go along.
Oh, very cool. Very cool, dude. I'm happy you came today. It's been, I've never had I don't think I've ever had such a legal type of service. Now, when it comes to legalities, like what kind of paperwork do people got to sign, like when they sign up with you? Because I don't sign papers. My hands are broken. I can't do it.
For the Smart Dex, there's no KYC requirements because it's a decentralized community. For the C5 platform, for the Smart Portal, obviously I have to fill out KYC like other normal structured C5 platforms, either like a bank or like a Coinbase or something like that. So you'd have to provide an ID and a phone number. And the big issue is that it's integrated into the banking system. So if you have a U.S. bank account on our C5 platform, you can wire money into our platform, buy crypto or Dogecoin or other coins. I know that we're talking about potentially in the future doing Pirate.
Don't be leaking information, bro. Don't be leaking information here.
Yeah, well, I qualified it with potential.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so you guys heard it. Yeah. It's not a surprise. I mean, it's a big Komodo project, right? So, and Pirates and Komodo, they're basically the same almost. So, we all go see, there's a lot of people in the community that do like this kind of stuff, financial stuff. That's Polly. Polly loves that stuff. Me personally, I probably wouldn't use your service. I hope you don't get insulted, but I wouldn't use your service. Just because it all just sounds so crazy to me. Right? I'd rather just have a bar of silver, right?
That's just the point, is that you don't have to use it, or you can use the decentralized version, which means there's no KYC, or you can use the centralized version. There's a lot of people who are new to crypto, still need help in understanding, the basic structure, make something simple. And then we're there to do both, right? So
how do we buy your coin anonymously?
Go buy it on the Atomic Dex. So if you have a version of the Atomic Dex, it'll be available there.
Sweet. All right. So guys, Mamara makes a nice Atomic Dex, a version of Atomic Dex that does not have the geo-fencing. So you don't have to set up the VPN and stuff. So that's the one I use. The regular one, if you're outside of the US, it'll work for you. from Komodo. There's a lot of forks, though. I'm pretty sure SmartDex is based on the same technology, and PirateDex will be too eventually. And thanks for coming, Aaron. I'm really happy you came and explained all this to us with the project. We rarely have financial people like you here, and Polly. We like talking about privacy here. Really, that's our thing. Anything in regards to hacking and protecting people's privacy, that's what we love. Your technology looks like it's got the decentralization down. Maybe in the future, when you add Pirate, we could get some privacy on your platform.
Yeah, with the SmartDex, it'll already be there.
Right. Yeah. Pirate is capable of atomic swaps currently. So,
you guys keep leaking information. You guys got to stop doing that.
Oh, that's
it's going to be on Atomic Dex.
Okay.
What?
Well,
okay, guys.
So one point I want to highlight about SmartFi's portal is that there's obviously a lot of new faces here in the Pirate Chain community previous years, which is great. And I imagine not everyone here is crypto expert, might feel a little uncertain, doing things like using a DEX and stuff.
We got
having a way to get people onboarded, easily, like they would at a normal crypto exchange, I think would be pretty valuable for the Pirate community. Because, if you think about it, like once you withdraw all your coins, then, you're back to the private world, so, every exchange actually has this problem, right? They can see what address, you're withdrawing to, right? So, it's not, this isn't just like a KYC, problem type of thing. So, it's, the old wisdom of not your keys, not your coins, just take that.
I would call it the gray area bank, right? There's a gray area in this bank that you could take advantage of, where most banks, there are no gray areas, right?
Oh, it's not a bank.
It's the gray area non-bank.
Yeah, exactly. We'll start getting calls from regulators saying, hey, people are calling you a bank, and we have to say we're not a bank, right?
We'll come up with a better name for it.
There you go.
Call a Velociraptor service, right? The Velociraptor service.
Yeah, or something. We'll figure it out. But
SmartFi. There's one question from the crowd, just real quick. He asked it twice. How is SmartFi different from SPDI? Anybody know what that is? SPDI?
Yeah, no. I've never heard of SPVI. Maybe he could expound on that.
Yeah, me neither. He's typing it in the chat. I only asked because he asked twice. All right, guys. We have Shapeshift in the crowd. Shapeshift fellas, raise your hands, and I'll bring you in. And Aaron, feel free to stay and hang out with the Shapeshift guys too. They're really cool people.
I would love to. In fact, I'll probably have to listen to it later. I've got another meeting that I got to jump to, but I am very excited to get introduced to the Pirate community. I know Jason has been talking to me about it for quite some time, and look forward to doing more work with you guys.
Dude, if you could help us get this is, I think, what everybody wants the most. They want a fiat on-ramp, right? I think everybody's been complaining that for the last 3 years. They've been looking for something like that. So if you guys could create a gray area non-bank fiat on-ramp and off-ramp, everyone here is going to love you.
Yeah, I mean,
we can do it not gray area, but we can certainly do the fiat on-ramp.
Sweet. Options, right? We need more options in crypto. These are just more options for you guys, and a lot of people, you guys already use the normal system. If you got to pay the tax, pay the goddamn tax. Me personally, I'll wait for them to knock on my door, and then I'll say, how much do you owe me? How much do I owe you? I don't work hard for anybody, right? Especially the government.
There you go.
You want that information? Get it yourself. All right, guys. Holly, love you, man. Thanks for coming. Shapeshift, guys, raise your hand. I think we got Seth. And what's the website? SmartFi.com? Was it?
Yeah. SmartFi.com. Yep.
SmartFi.com, guys. Check it out. It's not a bank, but it kind of feels like a bank, right? Which is a good thing, because maybe further on they'll take a chapter from Shapeshift and they'll go all open source, and they'll and they'll decentralize the way their organization works with a DAO, right? And then there's nobody, the government can't really point the finger at anybody. People are all around the world. There's no office. There's nothing, right? There's no centralized part to attack. You can stop one person, doesn't stop the other 200 decentralized people all around the world from doing what they got to do. You got a company, they just go to the bay, they put a lock on the door, and this corporation is finished. We got Tyler from Shapeshift. Welcome, Tyler. I'm going to bring you in now with Seth. We'll bring Seth in here too.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, Lutz, if we were going to take questions.
Yeah, let me see if Forge is here. I don't see him. I was hoping he'd be here. Can somebody ping Forge for me? One sec, bro. Let me ping it. Because you definitely want to talk to the devs, bro. I go as far as HTML, CSS. That's where I draw the line. I don't go further than that. All right, so we do have two options in implementing, from what we understand, what we spoke about, implementing us into Shapeshift, right? We have War, which is coming out soon, right? So that'll be on Ethereum and Binance. From what I understand, it'll be on both. So we'll have a wrapped version of Pirate, which from what I understand makes the implementation like super easy. And then you got the hard way of doing things, right? Which is, the P2SH actual atomic swap method, right? On chain. So, how do you see it like getting implemented? What do you think? What do you feel the best way to get Pirate added? Like, should we wait for the token, the wrapped version, or should we go do an actual atomic swap, which you'll be able to see the open source code as soon as you heard earlier. Atomic Dex is going to have it soon, so you'll be able to just like mimic their code when it comes out. Possibly. Oh, am I talking to myself? Where'd he go? There's Seth. Welcome, Seth.
Hey. So, to answer your question, I think it's probably best to go for War first. Not just because it's easy, but also because right now, the focus of the engineering team is getting Bitcoin added to the new open source structure.
Right.
So pushing for something that would be difficult and time consuming is probably not the best bet.
I agree 100%. Okay, so, and it's always a good place to start. I think from what someone told me, a lot of these wrapped coins get in like centralized exchanges, different kinds. Typically, they're not allowed there, but the wrapped coin is for some reason, right? And then what happens over time is they end up accepting the regular coin as well. So let's say it's like a wrapped version of Monero. It'll eventually they end up taking the regular Monero too, which is it's kind of like a little open door, little crack in the door that allows us to get in, right? So I think that's a good idea. I wish there were more devs here to discuss it. So we'll just have to reschedule something with them, Seth. And we're going to have to get it in concrete, right? And so people could all listen and all the devs will show up.
Yeah, I think next
last
time
week we had two over here waiting for them. Last week we had two of our devs waiting for them. Now you have what? Our devs are not here, and your dev can't.
Yeah, next time I'll have people RSVP because I think the uncertainty of whether people would come caused you to need to have someone else come and speak, and so
That's
trying
right.
to do 2 meetings in one, I think, is
That's
problematic.
Right. Well, the worst thing for me is, I expect somebody to show up, and then, and I'm not saying you wouldn't show up. I'm saying that I don't want to be left over here like with dead air. Like, where's everybody, right? So I had to make sure that we had somebody on for today, and that's why I brought on SmartFi as well. And I think, well, I'm not sure. I think I had somebody for next week. Who was it? Somebody booked me for next week. I can't remember. All right. Anyway, we'll keep that a surprise, I guess. But if you could get them, I mean, we could do a meeting in your server. I know I've been attending meetings in your server all day, bro. I've been in Shapeshift Discord most of the day.
Yeah, I do think it would be an easier sell if the meeting's happening on Shapeshift.
We have no problem. We could come to your meeting, bro. I could have the devs come to your meeting. That's fine.
All right, let's try that then.
Shapeshift is a great. Yeah. The Shapeshift is a great service. Everybody, if you don't know, Shapeshift went open source like last week, right? And what that means is that the code is auditable by everybody, right? On top of that, they went full DAO. They're no longer like a corporation. Everybody that got paid is no longer getting paid on the books, right? That anybody could see. They made it a true DAO. Like legally DAO. Right? We're a DAO, but we don't, it's a fleet. We use fleets and we use all kinds of other ways. It's not as like, they're like paperwork official DAO or like pirate official DAO, right? And I think that we would work great together because, they're heading, and I'm pretty sure Eric and the team over there, they're very freedom focused. And I think it would just be a shoo-in for that type of a project. Also,
Precious says that Tyler has his hand up, that he wants to come and talk.
Low Fat, you see him?
No. There, let me re-invite him.
Huh.
Oh, I see him. He's got the invite. Tell him to accept it. It's at the top.
Yeah, you just gotta.
Yeah, it's grayed out. Yeah, so there's a little green bar typically at the top, Tyler. It says accept or decline. This week we had Shosane here. We had Forge here. Those are the guys you want to talk to. As well, Tyler, we brought Forge into that chat, that partner channel that we created in Shapeshift. You guys could start hashing out details over there, It doesn't have to be always, voice. We'll take crypto and go. All right, guys. Seth, low fat milk.
What's up?
Low fat milk.
What's up, buddy?
Why isn't he getting in here?
Because he's not hitting the right things.
Hey.
He's hitting all the wrong buttons.
What she said. All right. No worries, Tyler. No big deal, man. We'll get a meeting going we'll try again next week for the third time. Third time's a charm. And we'll get it going. I hope you guys liked the show today. Aaron is a great guy. If you have any questions, reach out to Polly Crypto Blog and Aaron from SmartFi. I'm not really big on those type of things. Obviously, you guys can see that. But if you guys like that kind of stuff, and a lot of people like all that stuff with the interest rates and blah, blah, blah. I'm just a hodler. I believe in old school gold. I put it in my pocket and that's it. It's over. All right. I think we're going to end it here. Cax, bring on the shanty. Everybody, thank you for joining us today. Not such a big group today, but that is fine. We don't have to break records every week. And I love you all. The Salute signing out.